So shutdown and outage strategy and planning is simply when we have to take an asset or part of our network out of operations while we fix it, restore it, remove it, whatever it might be. We need to be able to identify the scope, the timing, and resources required for shutdowns as a whole. There's no point in closing down something for a weekend to do maintenance when you haven't got staff or spare parts to do so. Balancing fewer versus longer shutdowns versus more frequent and shorter ones. Again, there is no perfect answer to this. You may have a location that's in a very remote area. You may have one that's really close at hand. You may have one that's quite critical in terms of chemicals, heat and pressure, etc. Coordinating all the work packages, the approvals and the resourcing to get them on time to where they need to be. You'll be managing risk, costs, and impacts on production and service delivery, because if the outage lasts for too long, you're likely to use revenue or value delivery. And then, of course, review the outcomes to improve future shutdowns and turnarounds. There is a reality that during a shutdown, people focus on the downtime and getting the plant back online ahead of the longer term benefit, the sustainability piece that goes with it. And that's fair enough, because it can be a bit of a pressure cooker when you are shutting down and taking something under possession. But the risk here, focusing on the short-termism versus the long-term, or urgent versus important, we need to remind people and communicate them that the value of the planned outage around safety, reliability, and performance. But it's not just the performance of the shutdown activities itself, it's the performance of the plant or the equipment or the network after it's restored into production. Without cross-functional coordination in an organization, a shutdown, unfortunately, is doomed for failure. It's a team effort, more so than any other activity an organization will undertake. The risk here is, of course, multiple teams, whether it's operations, maintenance, contractors, struggle to align. As simple as if someone's working on a piece of kit, someone else needs to get to it, or it's out of sequence, all of a sudden you're burning time, and the risk of restoring operations at the end of the shutdown goes out the window. So again, running joint planning sessions, not just the day before the shutdown, ahead of the shutdown, looking at contingency plans, but also, really importantly, clarify who is accountable and use a RACI chart to do so: responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. The balance of safety, risk, security, etc. within a shutdown is a completely different ballgame to anything else. The risk, obviously, is, we need to complete the work quickly and to get the job done, get the plant open up. But of course, we may compromise safety. Depending on the nature of your shutdown, it could have a lot of pressure, could be acid, could be heat. All those sorts of things combined really do lift the whole risk profile. So we can reinforce safety that is non-negotiable, and not just give that lip service. If something doesn't look right, stop. If something doesn't look right, escalate. And make sure that that is, of course, not negotiable, but also supported by leadership. And they're the ones that state that leading up to the shutdown and during the shutdown. Given the context of the organisation, shutdowns might have been done historically by the same people, but may be a new planning approach, a new integrated way of doing things, or even bringing in external resources can create change resistance. Now, again, that is a real risk, because maybe staff prefer, we did it the old way, let's just go back and do it way. We don't feel comfortable with this. But if we can train teams and standardize, shutdown and turnarounds, the strategies that go with it, the planning that goes with it, and of course, share not only success stories, but also share war stories of where things didn't go right before, you can actually convert change resistance into innovation of process. Now, in the context of a shutdown and outage or shutdown and turnaround strategy, it can't just be done in isolation. You need to understand who all the stakeholders are. It's not just the people turning the wrench or doing the asset condition monitoring, whatever it might be, But if we don't communicate both internally and externally, there is nothing worse than thinking that someone external is going to go the extra mile for you if you don't communicate the importance of the shutdown. So even though we might have a list of stakeholders, develop a stakeholder communication plan, develop an engagement plan for each shutdown, including how things are escalated. And not just escalated internally if we're not getting anything from a supplier. Even an external supplier should have an escalation process back to the leader of the shutdown in case they're not getting what they need. Because again, the shutdown and the turnaround of the outage strategy is a team event. We should always do a lessons learned and understand what worked and what didn't in a shutdown. And of course, the turnaround piece as well, when we ramp the machinery or the processing plant, whatever it is, back into services. Lessons from previous shutdowns sometimes aren't captured or applied. It's a real risk. Or even over the test of time, I finished the shutdown, we'll get back and we'll do a lessons learned, but we'll just go back to business as usual. Then you lose the momentum, you lose who was there in the moment, and if you've got people coming or external resources coming in, you lose the opportunity to speak to them and learn. So you've got to really conduct a structured post-event review. That could be done daily at the end of every shutdown day and also at the end. And also looking at really what was the percentage of work missed in terms of backlog versus did we finish early? So again, lessons learned and continuous improvement, plan, do, check, act is key. So the alignment back to ISO 55001, two key things jump out for me in terms of shutdown and outage. 8.1, operational planning and control, including life cycle management. And the next one is probably paramount above all things in my view, section 8.2, control of change. Because in a shutdown, you're looking at functional configuration, physical configuration, and of course, derived configuration and records keeping. So in summary, shutdown and outage planning make sure essential maintenance or upgrades are done safely, cost effectively, and with minimal disruption. But as we've gone through in this module, balancing out the urgent versus the important, because as soon as you make it a pressure cooker for people working within that shutdown, safety incidents can occur, defects can occur, and omissions can occur, which lead to further downtime.